Wife almost said yes to an intimate proposal, so I made sure she paid the price for that. I am a 29-year-old male and my wife is 32. We have been married for a little more than 2 years. My wife had agreed for something so insane that it left me shattered and was the reason for the end of our relationship. She agreed to something she should not have, and then I had no choice but to make her regret her decision for the rest of her life. My name is Carl, and I met Julie when I was 25. We met at a club, and from the get-go, I could see that she was a wild one. I was out with my friends celebrating getting a job. She had come alone and owned the dance floor. I had been keeping an eye on her from a distance, trying not to be too obvious about it. However, when the song stopped playing, she came up to the bar and sat beside me. I tried to act as if I had not noticed her. She ordered shorts for herself and drank them one after the other without a break. She then looked at me and smiled and said, "Are you just going to keep looking or dance with me?" I was stunned by her straightforward approach, as I was sure that I was doing a pretty good job at not trying to get any kind of attention while checking her out. But I guess she did notice me. I had 2 left feet, but still I didn't want to miss this opportunity, so I decided to go and dance with her. We hit the dance floor and started dancing. I was in awe with her dance moves and felt embarrassed dancing beside her. She noticed that I was not much of a dancer, so she decided to take matters in her own hands. She used me as a pole and started swinging her body in a way that I could not imagine was possible. I was enjoying that she was having fun greening her body against mine. After dancing for a while, we got tired and decided to go to the bar for some more drinks. We had a few drinks, and then she told me that she wanted to go somewhere quieter. I knew what this meant, and I took the opportunity without missing a beat. We left the club and started walking towards where my car was parked. On the way to the parking lot, I could see that she was unable to keep her hands to herself. We started kissing and making out as we walked towards my car. If I had to be honest, this has never happened to me in my entire life. I was never picked up by a girl from a club. I got nervous and clumsy, which led to me dropping my car keys. She asked me to hurry before she changed her mind. I quickly picked them up and unlocked the car. She took the back seat and motioned me to get in beside her. I think she knew what she was doing, so I just decided to follow her orders. I got into the car and locked it. She looked at me and smiled and started kissing me like crazy. She started taking off my shirt and we had a full-blown makeout in my car. After about 15 minutes, she smiled at me sheepishly and started dressing herself. She signaled me to unlock the car so that she could get out. As she was leaving, I realized that we hadn't exchanged names or numbers. I called out to her and said, "I never got your name." She started walking and said that she never told me her name. I screamed at her, asking if I could get her number, and by the time I finished wearing my jeans, she had already left. I was both satisfied and disappointed by the turn of events. Well, at least I scored at the club today. I went back into the club to my friends who were waiting in anticipation to ask me about my rendezvous. I just gave them a knowing smile and decided to call it a night. I joined my first job the next week. I was very excited and dressed my best to make an impression. I made sure I was on time for work to create a lasting impression on my bosses. I got into the elevator and was making my way to my floor when I saw a familiar face at the back of the elevator. I tried to recollect where I had seen her. After I got off my floor and was walking, that's when I realized that it was the girl from the club. I mentally punched myself for taking so long to recognize who she was. I was at least content that I knew where to find her. All I had to do was make sure that I take the elevator at the same time tomorrow to meet her. The next day, I got on the elevator and frantically searched for the girl from the club. I could see her at the back of the elevator. I checked my watch and saw that I still had some time before I could show up for work. I decided to follow her to her floor and try to have a conversation with her. I was very confident that she would have forgotten about me. I stood beside her in the elevator and asked her if she remembered me. She blushed and said that I might be the guy from the car. I gave her a grin and passed on my phone to her. She gave me a questioning look and acted out as if she didn't understand what it was. I mouthed to her to type in her number on my phone. She said that she had to get off on the floor and left. I saw that I didn't have much time to persuade her as I had to get back to work. I decided to try again tomorrow. After a few days of persuasion, I finally got to know her name and her number. She was probably thinking that she had been too easy and that was the reason she was playing hard to get. Finally, I was able to win her trust and get her number. We started having our little chats in the elevator every day. We took it a step further and decided to move it to a cafe. We started talking more and more and developed feelings for each other. We started officially dating after 3 months. We were like a perfect balance between wild and calm, constantly pushing each other to try new things while also finding comfort in each other's presence. Our relationship was filled with adventure and spontaneity, but also with moments of tranquility and deep connection. We supported each other's dreams and aspirations, always encouraging one another to reach for the stars. It was a beautiful balance that made our love grow stronger with each passing day. After about 6 months, we started living together to save money as we worked in the same building. We leased an apartment close to our workplace. We would go out to clubs, dance like crazy, and get wasted. It was initially very exciting, but as days went by, I started getting averse to the idea of going all out every time. She had received a promotion to her new role, which led to added responsibilities at work. Due to this, our going out every weekend to a new party reduced drastically. I was enjoying the peace and quiet that we were able to get due to this. After living together for 1 year, she was the one who proposed that we get married. I was a little apprehensive as I thought that she might not be the kind of person to settle down. She enjoyed partying, drinking, and being sociable, but when she proposed to me for marriage, I realized that she might actually be looking out for something more serious. We had a grand wedding inviting our friends and family. It was a day I would remember for the rest of my life. Things were going smoothly, and we were able to understand each other much better after we got married. I had also been promoted at work, and we were earning enough to not only support our basic needs, but also enjoy luxuries. It was almost 2 years that we had been married, but apart from a few minor arguments and disagreements, we were very happy in our marriage. Julie had changed a lot after our wedding. She had become a little more responsible, and her wild and party-going nature had almost disappeared. It was as if this was a new and better version of her. It felt like a dream that Julie was once a wild beast. Julie was up for a promotion very soon. She was very positive that she would be the one getting it, as she had worked her ass off to make sure that everyone was pleased by her performance. When the results were announced, she was disappointed to say the least. She came home early and was in a foul mood. She said that she was frustrated because she knew she dissolved that promotion. She mentioned that the girl who got the promotion was not experienced enough and only got it because she was fooling around with her boss. I was not aware of how things worked in her office, so I did not think it was right for me to comment on it. Julie started unnecessary arguments with me just because I was not siding with her to badmouth the girl who was promoted. She told me that I should stand by her side and agree with her because what you were saying was the truth. I made myself distant to give her time to process and accept the reality. The biggest problem with Julie was that it had been 2 years, and Julie was still stuck at the same role that she started with since our marriage, and there was no sign of any promotion for her in the near future. She did jokingly mention that she might have to sleep with her boss for her to be promoted. I never thought much of it because I knew that it was just her frustration talking. But as days went by, I could see Julie getting more and more frustrated for not being able to get promoted. I tried to console her by telling her that it was all right and we were making enough money to afford the luxuries that we wanted to spend on. Getting a promotion would only make her busier, and we would not be able to enjoy our life like we currently are. Julie was not satisfied with my efforts to try to put a smile on her face. She argued with me instead, stating that I would be happy if I was not promoted, even after knowing that I was the right candidate for it. I was running out of ideas to try to make her happy. Julie one day came up to me and asked me if I would have a problem with something she would have to do that I would not approve of for a promotion. I know what she was thinking, and I knew where this conversation was going. I told her that I believed in her abilities in this relationship and trusted her not to do anything stupid just for the sake of a promotion. She would get it when she would be ready and when it was the right time for her. I felt as if she wanted me to say yes and that I do not mind what you do to get a promotion. I could see that the thought of not getting promoted was eating her from the inside. I reassured her that her worth and value were not solely determined by a promotion and that her dedication and hard work would eventually be recognized. I reminded her that sometimes the best opportunities come when we least expect them, and encouraged her to focus on personal growth rather than solely on external validation. I decided to take her out clubbing because that was something she really enjoyed. I thought that maybe if she got drunk and danced her way out, That would release all the tension and frustration that she had been building up for quite some time now. So I took her to the club where we first met and decided to let her go all out. She smiled, brimming with happiness as we made our way into the club. She went straight for the bar and ordered a round of those. She gulped them and hit the dance floor. I decided to stay back at the bar and let her be by herself for some time. She started dancing sensuously, swaying her body to the beats of the music. I could see a few guys on the dance floor looking at her with lust-filled eyes. She came back for a few more drinks, hugged me, and then said that she was going to dance some more and left. When she started dancing, a group of boys gathered around her and started dancing. It was difficult for me to keep a watch on her due to the boys blocking my view. I finished my drink and went to the dance floor. What I saw was not only shocking but also unbelievable. I saw Julie was in the center of the boys' gang and she was grinding her hips against one of the boys' bodies. The other guy had one of his hands on her thigh. One more guy had his hand on her stomach very close to her breast. Julie was dancing unaware of what was happening with her. I assumed that she was too drunk to realize that it wasn't me she was dancing with, so I took a step forward to rescue her. I was about to break the circle made by the boys when I saw that Julie took the hand on her thigh and pushed it a little further up. I knew that she was too drunk and had no sense of what was happening around her. I was about to take her back with me when she turned towards the guy she was grinding and started kissing him. She also took the hands of both the guys and put each on one of her hips. This instantly enraged me and I pulled her away from them. She pushed me and told me to back off. She said that she was here to have fun and would do as she pleased. I was unable to comprehend if she was joking or serious right now. By the looks of it, it looked like she meant every word of what she was saying. The boys tried to push me away and ask me to mind my own business. I pulled Julie towards me and told her to come to her senses. She pleaded with me, saying that she would want to forget that we are married just for today so that she can feel loved. I was filled with anger, listening to the words that came out of her mouth. I agreed to her request and said that she was free to do whatever she felt like. I knew it was time to teach her a lesson. I thought, why not? Two people can play this game. I left her alone with a gang of boys and decided to have fun on my own. I started scanning the dance floor for someone I could go to hang out with. I saw a young girl in a sexy dress all by herself and decided to approach her. I walked up to her and started dancing with her. I asked her if she would have a round of drinks with me, for which she immediately agreed to. We made our way towards the bar and ordered a couple of shots. After we drank the shots, I took her hand and walked towards the dance floor. I spotted Julie, who was still surrounded by the boy gang, and decided to dance just beside them. I started dancing alongside the girl and started whispering in her ear in such a way that Julie could see us. As I danced, I made sure to keep an eye on Julie from my periphery to make sure that she notices what I was doing. The girl I was with was already a good dancer. She started dancing and using her hands, placing them all over my body. Things started to heat up and I decided to kiss her. I made sure that my hands were at all the right places. I could see Julie fuming with anger and pushing the boys away that were clinging to her body. I could see Julie walking towards us. I ignored her and continued kissing the girl. Julie pulled me away from the girl and said that I was crossing the line. I made a very innocent face and told her that all I wanted to do was to have fun just like her. She was free to do whatever she pleased, and so was I. She looked very unhappy about what I had told. She had no choice but to agree to it, as she was the one who started this. I went close to her here and whispered like that I am agreeing to what she said earlier. I'm going to forget that we are married just for today and have fun as a single the entire night. She was caught on her own words and had no way out. As the night progressed, I saw that Julie had eyes only for me in the entire club. She made sure I stayed away from every other girl and focused only on her. She was not only dancing, but also trying to entertain me with all her sweet gestures. She was dancing so sensually, arousing me and kissing me in between to keep up the mood. I was enjoying what was happening and started drinking much more. By the time it was time to leave, we were fully drunk and making out wherever possible. The people in the club helped us get a cab so that we could go home safely. We got on the cab and continued making out until the time we reached home. When we did reach home, we had a long and steamy lovemaking session, which ended with us both falling asleep naked. We got up with bad headaches and hangovers and did not remember much of what happened last night. I vaguely remembered kissing a random girl because Julie had pissed me off for some reason. I asked Julie if she remembered something from last night, and she said that she only remembered making out with me and coming home fully drunk. I don't remember the reason why I had to kiss a girl if I was pissed at Julie. I tried to recollect it, which led to more of a severe headache, so I decided to try to remember it later when I was more sober. It had been 2 months since the club incident. I still did not recollect everything from that night. Julie had become her own whining self, always complaining about how it wasn't fair for someone else to be promoted without any talent. By now, I was sick and tired of Julie whining all the time about the same damn thing. I needed a break from all of this, and told her that if she was having a hard time at work, then she could resign and find another non-toxic place to work. This led to her becoming more furious and said that she could take care of her own problems. She did not need my help in making career choices. I didn't understand what I said so wrong for her to react this way. I was genuinely surprised by her reaction and felt confused about where I had gone wrong in my attempt to offer support. I realized that perhaps Julie was feeling overwhelmed and frustrated, and my suggestion may have come across as dismissive or insensitive. I decided to give her some space and reflect on how I could better communicate my intentions in the future. After 2 weeks, Julie told me that she received a proposal for a promotion from her boss. I didn't know why she was still sulking, as this was really good news. She didn't seem too happy about it. Upon further questioning, she said that the offer comes with a catch, and the catch was that she would have to spend a night with her boss. It made me so furious that I did not know how to react. I mean, it was really a no-brainer what Julie must have done. I asked her if she complained about it to the HR department or if she slapped him for giving such a shameless offer. To my surprise, Julie told him that she was going to think about it and get back to him. I was like, what? Are you serious right now? I mean, it was a plain and simple no. That's all she had to do. Why would she even tell him that you would think and get back? She should have complained about him that he was asking for sexual favors. Come on. That's exactly what I would have done if I was in her place. I was less surprised about the offer proposed, and more surprised about Julie's answer. I really could not understand what was going on in her brain. Was she really thinking of going ahead with this offer just for promotion? Was she even in her right mind? I was zapped. My mind froze and I couldn't talk for the next 10 minutes. I thought of giving her a break and talking to her tomorrow, when she was in the right frame of mind to even listen to what I had to say. The next morning over breakfast, I asked her what she was planning to do about the offer. She told me that she's leaning towards accepting the offer. I was expecting her to have a clear mind after a good night's sleep and make the right decision. I was floored. There was no point arguing with her if she had already made up her mind, so I just had my breakfast and left for work. I knew that she would start an argument if I tried to reason with her. I didn't want to waste my early morning energy in trying to explain how it would affect our relationship. This was a closed marriage, for God's sake. She could not make decisions on her own without even asking or consulting with me before she decided to put our relationship on the line for a promotion. In the evening, I came home and made a call. Julie wasn't home yet, and I had no clue if she would be coming home tonight or sleeping with her boss. Anywhere, I decided to give her a call and check what she was up to. She said that she was going on her way home and would be reaching in another 30 minutes. I knew that this was a repetitive behavior of Julie to just think about herself and being too selfish at most of the times. I knew there was only one way I could make her understand how it felt if somebody else did the same thing to her. I was waiting for Julie to reach home so that I could start my plan. Julie arrived home and acted as if there was nothing wrong between us. She did not even initiate a conversation or ask me if I felt bad about how she gave me the news of accepting the shameless offer. I could not believe that she was being so calm about even thinking about having to spend the night with her boss. She told me that she had been thinking about it and thought that it was a good offer to just spend the night and get a promotional return. I was just nodding my head and chiming in with her. Around 8:30 p.m., the doorbell rang and I let Julie open the door. She saw a girl in her early 20s wearing a very tight and short dress standing at the door. Julie looked confused and was about to tell her that she might be at the wrong door. The girl confirmed the address and said that she had been called for her services here. Julie still looked puzzled, saying that we did not require her services. That's when I walked towards the door and gave a smile to the girl. I motioned to come inside and make herself comfortable. Julie had no clue about what was happening and looked at me with a questioning face. I told her that I called the girl for her services. I asked the girl to wait in the guest bedroom for me. I made Julie sit on the couch and told her that she might not like what I was going to tell, but it was something I had to do for my own success. I told her that I heard from my bosses that I would soon be up for a promotion. But the CEO remarked that I was too uptight and might not be able to gel in with higher management once I got promoted. Everyone had at least one mistress for themselves outside of their marriages. They looked at me as a very loyal and loving husband. They were not ready to accept me in their circle, as I might turn their backs on them and start sharing their secrets with their wives. So starting today, I decided to open our marriage. I could see that Julie was horrified with the news that came crashing down on her. I did not give her a chance to speak and added that I know that even you have been offered a promotion with similar terms. It would be so easy if we just accept the opportunities provided to us and make our way in our careers going ahead of everyone. She was in too much of a shock to respond. I didn't even wait for her reply and went to the guest bedroom and locked the door. All I had planned was just to scare her a little to make her realize her mistake. I asked the girl to act as if we were having sex and make loud moaning noises. I switched off the lights and started acting as we were having sex, and we both started moaning loudly. I crouched down near the door to see if Julie was standing outside the room. And there she was, standing and trying to make sure that it was all happening and I was not faking it. After 20 minutes, I opened the door and went into the living room to get some water. Julie was sitting on the couch, fuming with anger. I looked at her and asked her if she wanted some water. She looked at me with a disgusted look and said that she was going to spend the night with her boss tomorrow, and it was not the first time that she would be doing it anyway. She did not have to think so much, as she had done it for her previous promotion as well. This came as a lightning bolt. Her previous promotion was right before we got married. We were together for 2 years when she had been promoted. Is that why it was easy for her to not deny her boss and Stanley? Is that why she was sure that it was sex that got some other girl promoted? All these questions were racing through my mind when I remembered the girl in the guest room. I took a bottle of water, slammed the door shut, and fell to the ground. I could not believe that Julie could throw away 2 years of our relationship under the bus just to get promoted. I was acting all proper, not doing anything, and acting because I cared for our marriage. I told the girl that there is a change of plans and that we will be doing it for real, but in another room. I would pay her extra charges for all the discomfort that she had. I told Julie that I had something to show her and took her to our room. She followed me in a disinterested manner. When we were in the room, I made her sit on one of the chairs and took a belt and tied her hands to it. I made sure that it was secure enough for her not to free herself. I went downstairs and called the girl to the bedroom. One thing that I knew about Julie was that she was very, very possessive about me. She would never let any girl be over-friendly with me. I knew that she broke my trust, and though I did not plan this, but I knew that I had to make some hard decisions today. I asked the girl to make the best love of her life. I first asked the girl to give me a lap dance. I made sure that Julie looked at everything that was happening around her and regret the decision she made. I started enjoying the lap dance, but at the same time was making sure that Julie was witnessing everything that was happening. The girl started kissing me, and I started kissing her passionately, giving dirty glances to Julie from time to time. Julie was screaming with anger and pleading with me to stop. I told her that this is how she made love to her boss for her previous promotion. I started undressing the girl and started kissing her neck. I looked at Julie and asked her if her boss kissed her the same way. She just kept weeping and asking me to stop it. Then I kissed her belly and asked her if she felt something when her boss kissed her belly. She tried to look the other way, but I made sure that her eyes were fixated on us. I did not want her to miss any action that would be going down in our room tonight. I slowly took off the girl's panties and asked Julie if she remembered the color of the panties she was wearing on that day when she slept with her boss. I asked her if she wore a sexy pair of lingerie to seduce her boss. I held the panties in my hand and showed it to Julie. I told her that I would like to see her in something like this in the future. It was too seductive and sexy, which would instantly turn on any guy. She kept begging and pleading with me to stop doing this. I told the girl to have sex with me right in front of where Julie was sitting. I did not want her to miss even a single thing. Maybe she could use any of these moves for her future promotions. The girl started giving me a hand job. I kissed Julie's thigh and asked her if she did something like this to her boss. She was pleading and sobbing. She had no answers to any of my questions. I was moaning with pleasure, and Julie started screaming that I can't do this to her. I was her husband. Surprisingly, the girl was too good, and I actually started enjoying it. I knew I was doing it out of spite, but it started getting entertaining for me. The girl then went down on me, giving me all the pleasure. I was lost in a different world, and when I turned, I could see Julie's face full of anger. I asked her in a whisper if she enjoyed doing this to her boss. She angrily turned her head the other way. It was very pleasurable. After this, the girl started kissing me and took my hands and put them on her breasts. I looked at Julie and asked her if they did this as well. She was now drowning in tears and not even begging anymore. She understood that there was no stopping me today. I then started kissing the girl and making love to her. I was having a really good time and forgot about Julie being in the room for the next 20 minutes. The sex was too good and pleasurable. After we were done, I asked Julie if she would want to see some more. She made a disgusted face and looked away. I paid the girl and thanked her for her services. I waited for the girl to get dressed and drop at her till the door. I came back and untied Julie. She was about to start hitting me when I caught her and flipped her on the bed. I told her that she had no right to accuse me. She was the one who cheated on me first when we were in a relationship. She had not an ounce of guilt on her face. She said that we were not married by then, and so she did not have any obligation to let me know or ask for permission to sleep with her boss. I felt ashamed at being married to such a self-centered woman. I told her that she was the one who left me no other choice but to stoop down to such a level just to make her understand what she did wrong. It was as if she still did not understand the gravity of the situation. She still was feeling no shame or guilt in sleeping with her boss when we had been living together for almost 2 years. According to her, trust and loyalty only begin after two people get married. I could not deal with her and left her alone. I went to the bathroom to clean myself. Under the shower, I kept thinking of all the good times that we spent. I had no clue of how to go forward with this relationship. Would I ever be able to make her understand the importance of putting someone else before you? Do I want to go through all of that pain and agony? I had no answers to them right now. With all these questions, I decided to go to bed and think with a clear head tomorrow. I know what I did would come across as me being a cold-hearted jerk, but I knew that this was pretty important to make Julie understand the importance of relationships and keeping the trust. After knowing her for all these years, I knew that this was the only language she understood, so I had to teach her in a way that would make her understand once and for all. I'm not here looking for opinions or more judgment from people. I'm just here to tell my story and how things turned out between me and my wife. Thanks for being a part of this journey. I would appreciate it if people give me any suggestions on whether I should continue being married to Julie or call it quits. Will this be a recurring problem in my life that I should be aware of, or this could lead to a stronger bond between us? Please advise me so that I can take the next steps accordingly. Good day, Redditors. I'm actually very excited to share my experience with you all today. Consequently, I know there will be several questions regarding the motive of this post, and I'm ready to answer all the questions. I'm in a very good mood because something very comical happened to me. Something that I'll like my dear Redditors to know. My ex-wife had the audacity to show up at my house yesterday. I thought she'd gotten lost or something, but no. She came intentionally. The funniest part is that the foolish woman wants me back in her life. She finally wants her husband and child back. I can assure you all that nothing like that is going to happen. I'd rather die than have that woman in my life again. After she came back here yesterday, I knew I had to hatch up a plan. I don't want her in my life or my child's life, and I will make sure I fight her till I die. But I don't know of my daughter. She might say she doesn't want her back, but we all know that children are gullible. It does not help that she was an infant and had no recollection of what transpired years ago. That's why I'm here to share my story with Reddit so you all can direct me to the right part. My motive is to make sure my daughter hates her forever, and I'm going to fight for that with everything in me. But before we do that, let me tell you all a little bit about me and my witchy ex-wife. My ex-wife, Sophia, F33, and I, Nathaniel, M35, were married for just 2 years and a half and knew each other for 2 years before we got married. We had our daughter 2 years into our marriage. We were first-time parents and knew nothing about raising a child, but we were ready to make an effort. Or so I thought. Barely 3 months after my daughter was born, my wife packed her belongings and told me she could no longer stay married to me. I'm done, Nathaniel. This isn't working for me. This is not who I am. Those were the exact words she said to me 10 years ago. How could a married woman with an infant just wake up one day and say she was done? How is that even supposed to make sense? I tried asking her what her reasons were, and all she could come up with was the fact that she was tired of raising a baby when she felt like a baby herself. For reference sake, I'll mention this again. Sophia was 23 years old by that time, and according to her, she was just a baby. Sophia said she was overwhelmed with our marriage and having a baby only made it worse for her, so she took her bags and left the house. Fuck it. I had a rough life even before I got married to Sophia. I practically had the worst childhood ever and was a victim of domestic violence. I grew up the hard way, so I built up my walls around me and was never one to care about any emotional shit. But what Sophia did that day got an emotion out of me. Anger. That's the emotion Sophia's actions got out of me, and trust me, that's a big deal. If Sophia had just left the marriage before we had our daughter, Daniela, I'd have been fine. I wouldn't even give a fuck what she ended up doing with her life. But she chose to abandon a little child who did nothing wrong. The moment Sophia left the house that day, I swore that she was dead to me. She has been dead to me for the past 10 years, and I swear on my life that she will be dead to me forever. Nothing in this world will ever make me take that woman back in my life. I'm not that stupid, and honestly, I don't even give a fuck what happens to her. I don't care why she came back, and I honestly don't want to know. When she came back yesterday with her mother pleading and wailing like a dog, I did not even look at her twice. I asked security to take both her and her mother out of my house. If Sophia and I didn't have our daughter, there would have been no reason for this post. But we have a daughter. My daughter is just 10 years old. Daniela is still in her first year of high school, and I don't want to take any chances. Daniela was just an infant when Sophia left her. She does not remember any of it, so it'll be hard for her to stay away. Almost every single day, I remind Daniela how Sophia left her when she was just a little baby. Many people tell me I'm wrong for doing that, and it's not right, but I don't care. I did not care back then, and I don't care now. Some relatives say it's not good to ruin the relationship between the child and the mother. But as far as I am concerned, the only mother figure in my daughter's life is my girlfriend, Esther. Sophia is just a stupid mistake I made in my life, and I don't plan on repeating that mistake ever again. I want to ask you all, my dear Redditors, to give me tips on how to make my innocent high school daughter despise Sophia even more. I need to make sure there are no chances of Sophia crawling back into her life. I know that Sophia doesn't have a conscience, so why should I? To be specific, my dear Redditors, I plan on damaging their relationship beyond repair. A woman who can abandon an infant can do anything again in the future. I want to protect my daughter because I know she doesn't have a mind of her own yet. As for me, this is also important because I don't want to see Sophia near my house in this lifetime and many lifetimes to come. The only way to do that is to cut all ties with her. The only tie remaining is my daughter. I want to teach her a lesson, and that lesson is that you don't just leave and come only when it is convenient for you. Help me here, Redditors, it's urgent. Updating. Thank you to all my fellow Redditors who have been helping me out for the past 2 weeks. Yes, you all have been helping me out because your comments and ideas have gone a very long way. To be honest, I already have a ruthless plan to get Sophia out of my child's life, but for the sake of morals, I'll just let that one slide. I want to do this in a way that will only ruin Sophia's relationship with Daniela. I don't want anything to get in the way of my relationship with my daughter. We have been together for 10 years, and I don't see any reason why that should change. A lot of you advise me to take actions fast as there is a possibility of Sophia going to court. Yes, I know that's a big possibility, and that's why I practically ran to Reddit. I know I'll win the case hands down. I'm ready to spend all my money on it if it means I'll damage Sophia beyond repair, but a custody battle will only make my daughter's life complicated. I'm ready to fight dirty with Sophia as long as my daughter doesn't have to know about any of it. She's the only reason I haven't taken reflex steps yet. Every day for the past 2 weeks have made me more angry than ever. The level of hatred and disgust I feel for Sophia cannot be quantified. I hate that woman with every vein in me, and I wish her the worst every day of my life. What makes me even more angry is the fact that she had the audacity to come to my house after 10 years. Sophia disappeared for 1 decade, then came back like she is a fucking magician who did a trick and disappeared. Her stupid mother even had the audacity to follow her here. The same woman that came back one day after Sophia left just so she could finish packing what her daughter forgot. If not for the possibility of legal charges, I wanted to strangle that woman that day. But no, violence is never the answer, so I have to do this calmly. My definition of calmly is also going to be heartless because I have waited for an opportunity to show Sophia what it's like to just wake up and lose it all. Okay, let me catch up with all of you and get you on board with all that's been happening. After posting on Reddit 2 weeks ago, I decided to take my daughter out to get ice cream the next day. Of course, I had an ulterior motive behind doing that. I don't let her take ice cream more than 4 times. I'm a month and she already exhausted those chances, but I decided to take her out for ice cream, so I called tell her a story. While we were at the park, I explained to her that her mother practically abandoned her when she was a child. Listen guys, I've told her that story many times, but that day, I had to make sure I left no stone unturned. Some might call it emotional blackmail, but I do not care. I have protected Daniela for 10 long years. I watched her come home from school and say kids were asking her why she did not have a mother to drop her off. It was hard for her to grow up with only nannies as the mother figures in her life. Most of my family members are countries away from us. Daniela assured me that she will never take Sophia back into her life. Honestly, I was not ready to take the word of a 10-year-old seriously, lol. My daughter is extremely innocent and kind. I'm sure all Sophia needs to do is fall on her feet, and then Daniela will take her back with open arms. I am here to make sure that never happens. My only mission here is not just to make my daughter hate Sophia. I also want to make Sophia regret everything she did 10 years ago. I want her to possibly tear up for the rest of her life. I know, that's heartless. Do I care? No. To my surprise, some days after taking Daniela to the park, I encountered Sophia at a restaurant. Thankfully, Daniela was at school and I was alone at the restaurant. Sophia had the nerve to walk up to me and tell me we needed to speak. I ignored her and ordered what I wanted to order. Sophia did not relent. She stood with me all through my order and dared to sit on the table I was seated on. Of course, she knew what she was doing. We were in a restaurant and we had people all around us. Of course, I could not start lashing out on her and I could not try to do anything to her. If not for the fact that I was a regular at that restaurant, I would have embarrassed the hell out of Sophia. Well, I did end up embarrassing her at the end of the day. Esther lived near the restaurant, so I called her and asked her to come there so we could have lunch. I know some of you might accuse me of trying to make Sophia jealous. Well, I don't know what my motive was exactly. One thing I know for sure is that I wanted to embarrass her and make her feel small. Whether she felt jealous or not is none of my business. In fact, that would be a plus for me. My girlfriend Esther is actually very possessive. I like that about her, and that day, at the restaurant, I loved her possessive side even more. I already told Esther about Sophia's return days before that day, and Esther was very pissed off. She even asked me several times if I still had any feelings for Sophia. Of course, I assured her that I didn't, but we all know how women are. Esther did not take my word for it, and to be honest, I liked that. When Esther arrived at the restaurant that day and saw Sophia sitting at my table, she practically sprinted to sit beside me. Esther did not only glare at Sophia, but she went as far as asking her if she had no shame at all. She asked Sophia why she was sitting at the table of her boyfriend when she was clearly not invited. Sophia was shocked to hear that I had a girlfriend. I find that very funny right now that I think about it. I mean, did she expect me to spend the rest of my life waiting for her to return before I moved on, or what? At first, I just sat back and watched how Sophia was struggling to defend herself, but when I had enough, I asked her to get out. She was taken aback and did not make any move to get up, but I stood up, cussed at her, then made a huge scene. When I say I made a huge scene, I mean I made sure the drama attracted security. I told then Sophia was intruding and disturbing my girlfriend and I. Esther seconded to my claims, so Sophia was escorted out of the restaurant immediately. We had caused a scene and people practically abandoned their foods to stare at us. I did not care because all I wanted to do was embarrass Sophia, and it was a very successful execution. Esther and I finished our lunch that day before leaving the restaurant. I got home late in the evening because I spent the day with Esther. It was summer break, so my mother picked Daniela up earlier that day and they went on a trip together. I was alone at home that night, but I did not expect any guest. It was almost 10 p.m. when my doorbell rang. It was raining heavily that night and I did not expect anyone to come knock at my door. When I opened the door, I found the security man standing there. When I asked him what he wanted, he told me that someone was looking for me. I did not expect anyone late in the night, so I asked him if he recognized who it was. He told that it was the same woman who came to the house some days ago. I did not need a seer to tell me he was talking about Sophia. I was so angry that she had the nerve to show up at my house, again. I told the security man to tell her I was coming outside and that she should wait for me. The security man assured me he'll deliver my message. After he left, I locked my door, took a shower, and went to bed. Whether or not Sophia waited for me all night and got drenched in the rain, I didn't really care. I wanted her to know what waiting for someone felt like. When I woke up the next morning, I felt so happy to have left her outside, even after promising her that I'd come outside to see her. It was intentional, and I'll do it again if I have the chance. I don't think anyone would truly understand the amount of disgust I feel for that woman. Her presence practically makes me angry and uneasy. I mean, how could anyone sane enough to be called a human being just wake up one morning and leave everything behind? Everything, including a 3-month-old child. Anyone who is capable of doing that is not a human being but a beast, and I am not going to be hesitant when it comes to treating her like one. When she left 10 years ago, she practically vacated the city. I did not try looking for her, but my mother tried her best to find her. I couldn't care less, mostly because I treated betrayal with hatred. I don't have the time to dwell on the past. The only part of what Sophia did that got to me was leaving Daniela behind. That was it for me. But my mother did not relent. She kept looking for Sophia all over the city. After months of searching, she found out that Sophia had left the city with her mother. Some people said she eloped with a lover. Others said she just vacated the city. I don't know what really happened because, like I said, she's been dead to me for 10 years. I spent those years taking care of my daughter instead of looking for an adult that chose to make her own decisions. So guys, let me tell you what happened 2 days after I left Sophia in the rain. She practically stormed into my house with her mother and brother. I don't know how they even got past the security man at the gate. Sophia rained curses on me and told me how heartless I was for leaving her in the rain. She got teary-eyed and practically collapsed on the floor. She cried her eyes out and said I was making things difficult for her. All I want is my family. I want my family back, Nathaniel. Stop making this hard for me. Those were the words that came out of her mouth that day. I'm making your life hard? Are you sure you are mentally stable? When you left your daughter 10 years ago, how hard do you think her life was? How hard do you think her childhood was? And you stand here to tell me your life is hard. I pray it gets harder than this. My dear Redditors, that was my reply to her stupid claims. I had to make sure she understood the gravity of every decision she made. You know the funny thing? Sophia had the audacity to play that victim game. You know what they do in all those movies, right? One parent abandons the child, then comes back years later only to say, I'm here now. I was not in her life, but I am ready to make things right. Sophia decided to say those things too. I don't know if she thought I'd get moved by her display and suddenly tell her how much I missed her. Maybe that's what she thought, but that's definitely not what I did. In fact, I enjoyed seeing her rolling on the floor like a fucking mad bitch. I enjoyed each and every moment of it. I practically had a blast, and I am not even joking. After her stupid performance, it was her brother's turn to speak J-Guns. He told me Sophia was sorry and all she wanted to do was come back to her family. He said I should be a man and forgive her for everything she did and that it was all a mistake and blah, blah, blah. My dear Redditors, do you see what I'm working with here? I'm practically working with animals. They speak like people who have been out of touch with reality for years. To be honest, I feel like they have been out of touch with reality their whole lives. That's truly the only explanation in my head that makes sense right now. Because I don't understand how a grown man would stand in front of me and ask me to be a man by forgiving his sister who packed her things and left her marriage, a marriage that produced a beautiful daughter. I had to ask him where he was for the past 10 years and why he was not man enough to ask his sister why she abandoned a little child that knew nothing about the world. He stood there like the dumb fool he was and could not even look me in the eyes. I also had to ask him why he did not come to see his niece for the past 10 years. He tried defending himself, but I got so angry that I landed a punch in his face. I could resist putting my hands on a woman, but there's nothing stopping me from laying my hands on a dumb man. Yes, Redditors, I got into a fist fight with Sophia's brother. Of course, he fought back. He'd be a fool to not fight back. We fought for minutes, and it had to be the most satisfying minute of my life. It was satisfying because it just felt good to transfer all the hate and anger I had for my ex-wife to her brother. I think that's what they call transfer of aggression, right? Well, I think it was worth it. Sophia and her mother practically screamed on top of their lungs, thinking that would be enough to stop us from fighting. Well, it wasn't. The only people that ended the fight were my security guard and one of my neighbors who heard the conflict that was going on. Sophia left with her mother and brother immediately after the fight ended. It was satisfying to watch the horror on her face before she left. I knew that was the sign she needed to know that there was no chance that we were getting back together. After they left that day, I took a long shower and had a cold glass of whiskey. All the anger I felt did not suddenly vanish, but I still felt very relieved. Though I've not seen Sophia for the past few days, I still feel like she's not going to give up yet. I know that what transpired last time is enough to let her know that I am done with her forever, but I'm not sure it's enough to make her leave Daniela alone. Daniela is still with my mother, and I honestly don't want her to come back till further notice. I miss my daughter, but I'm doing this for her own good. I do not want Sophia anywhere near Daniela, and I've put plans in place to make sure Daniela and Sophia never meet. I cannot control what happens in the future, but I can control what happens now. And right now, all I want is to make Sophia's life extremely miserable. I don't care if she feels like she's a changed woman and wants to right her wrongs. That's her fucking business, and it has nothing to do with me. She can go on with her repentance alone. I don't care. I will not let Sophia crawl back into my child's life or my life. I'm already talking to a lawyer and we are getting prepared in case she decides to take legal action. I don't even want joint custody. In fact, I want a restraining order if possible. I know it's very hard to get one unless Sophia does something that will require it. I'm ready to go as far as framing her, but my lawyer has advised me not to take that route. I'm trying my best to make sure that the court grants me full custody again. Why did I say again? Well, when Sophia left 10 years ago, she sent me the divorce papers soon after. There was no fight for custody, and that's exactly what must happen now. I'll keep you guys updated on what happens in the next few months because right now I'm focused on talking to my lawyer and getting prepared for whatever Sophia thinks she can throw my way. Please, don't refrain from dropping your comments because I'll try to comment on all of them whenever I get the chance. Till next time, Reddit. Update 2. My dear Redditors, it's been 2 fucking years since I made this post. I am beyond elated to write an update after 2 years. I can't even believe that this post has been up here for 2 good years. Time really does fly, and I'm just beginning to understand that. This experience has been one fucking funny, annoying, and elevating ride, and I'm really grateful it happened. So, let's not waste any time. I saw your comments, and you all have been waiting for this update. So, if you're guessing that Sophia gave up and vanished like she did 10 years ago, you're wrong. Sophia did not take the easy route, and I'm thankful to have predicted her actions before it was too late. She stayed back in the city and made sure she tried to get on my nerves. I got another visit from Sophia 2 months later. She came to my house and asked to see her daughter. Yes, Redditors, Sophia had the nerves to come to my house again. I asked her to get out, obviously, but Sophia came prepared that day. She began to make a scene and tell me how stupid I was if I thought I could separate a mother from her own child. She accused me of trying to make Daniela hate her, and to be honest, I was glad she saw the truth. I'm happy she knows that I want my daughter to despise her. That said, Sophia caused a huge scene at my house. At first, I engaged in an exchange of words with her, which led me into cussing her out. but later I just sat on the front porch and watched her continuously. Her rants eventually attracted the neighbors who got curious. Some of them who had stayed long enough recognized her as my ex-wife, while the new neighbors did not recognize her at all. The neighbors tried to calm her down, but she was not having it. She cried all over again and told them how I was stopping her from seeing her daughter. I've never really been one to care about public opinion, so it didn't really make a difference to me. I could see that some of the gullible neighbors and human rights activists were judging me with the way they looked at me. But the neighbors that stayed long enough and knew the full story were on my side. Some of the gossipers asked me to tell my side of the story, and I just found that very ridiculous. I didn't need to table the matter in front of anybody and get validation for what I knew was right. I refused because I was not going to give her an upper edge and let people meditate. I knew that there was nothing anybody was going to say that day that would make me change my mind. If I started explaining myself, I'd be telling them that I wanted them to judge a case that was not their business. Some of the neighbors I interacted with before tried to intervene and tell the other neighbors what really happened, but I did not try to input anything. After hours of unnecessary noise, I sent everyone out of my house. When I say everyone, I mean the neighbors and Sophia herself. Nobody was left out, not even my friends were left out. It's common knowledge that people who have never really been through a situation have the tendency to try judge that situation. Most times they just end up using their emotions and what they feel is justice. I did not need justice from anybody. I did not need anyone to give me justice. If you all are wondering where Daniela was that day, she was still with my mother. I enrolled her in another school there because I did not want her to come back till I was sure Sophia was out of the city. Daniela did not like the arrangement at all because changing schools is very hard for children, but I did not leave her with a choice. My mother convinced her with some ice cream and that settled everything. Since I still had work, I'd go visit them every weekend, then return back to the city. Daniela would wail and cry anytime I got ready to leave. To be honest, I hated myself for spending days away from her, but I had to discipline myself. So, Daniela was not home to witness the scene Sophia caused that day. 4 months later, I started getting hints from some of the people I was close to in the city that Sophia had a new boyfriend who seemed to be rich enough. They also told me that there was a possibility of her getting a lawyer since she had a new rich boyfriend. I was relaxed before because I knew Sophia couldn't afford a lawyer bit. When I was told she had a new rich boyfriend, I knew that I had to take action fast. It was, and still is common knowledge to me that Sophia can be very convincing. She's a woman that has the ability to make you feel pity for her no matter what type of facts you have against her. That's why I did not waste time in hatching up my plan. Weeks later, I was able to get information on Sophia's new boyfriend from a friend. I got to know that he was a guy from a reputable family who came from old money. I'm sure my fellow Redditors know how significant old money is. It's the kind of wealth that has connections and stability. I knew that I had to do something fast, or else Sophia was going to get this new guy under her palms. I had more money than Sophia, but I did not have more money than her new boyfriend. There was every possibility that she was going to get him to get his family lawyer to defend her in court. Of course, guys from rich families have family lawyers who are usually very good at what they do. I was able to come up with a plan, and that plan was to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. My plan was simple, but the execution was nowhere near simple. My dear Redditors, it's always hard for good people like me, LOL, to get vengeance. I was able to get Sophia's boyfriend's, well, his name is Darius, so let's just call him that now. I was able to get Darius' usual schedule from a friend of mine. I knew he worked at a bank and would go to a particular restaurant to cool off after work. I started going to the restaurant regularly and staying there for hours till he got there. I continued that routine for weeks before we finally spoke one day. Thankfully, he did not seem to recognize me. Maybe it helped that I introduced myself in a fake French accent with a very fake name. I started talking about finances and he seemed to like the topics I brought up. Of course, a guy who works in a bank would want to hear about finance. It was a common logic I used, and thankfully, it worked. We became friends from that day on. 1 week later, I invited him to the restaurant to have lunch with me. That same day, I invited Sophia to the restaurant to have lunch with me. I told Darius that I recently got back with my old partner and that we'd been dating for months. He was excited and told me he wanted to meet her that same day. Sophia arrived at the restaurant before Darius did, and that's because I gave them 2 different times to come. When Sophia arrived, I told her I was ready to get back with her and that I missed her. I even went as far as telling her I broke up with Esther and was ready to let Daniela see her. She was shocked at first and tried playing hard to get, but after some time, she began to give in. We spent minutes talking, and to be honest, that had to be the most wasted minutes of my life. Thankfully, I was able to sight Darius coming from afar, and that was when I leaned in and kissed Sophia. Well, I did not really kiss her because I am disgusted by that woman. I just joined our foreheads together. Yes, my dear Redditors, I had to do what I had to do to get what I wanted. Darius was shocked to see Sophia and I in that position. I introduced her as the girl I've been telling him about, and he told me that Sophia was his girlfriend. I acted surprised and blah blah blah. Long story short, he got angry and left the restaurant. Sophia was so angry that she tried to slap me on the face, but I was able to twist her hands behind her and hold her in place. She got teary-eyed and told me she regretted the day she got married to me. I told her I was surprised it took her so long to regret it because honestly, I've been regretting it for years. She called me several names, some of which I cannot really remember, but the one I remember is betrayer. I was so happy she called me a betrayer because that just made me remind her how she betrayed her own child and how she betrayed me years ago. She stormed out of the restaurant after that, and I went home. Do I feel bad about using Darius? No, I don't. He needs to thank me for saving him from a woman like Sophia. I heard he broke up with her that same day. How do I know? One of my friends is his colleague at the bank. He's the one that told me Darius was dating Sophia in the first place. Even after Sophia tried to tell him I was just her ex-husband, he did not want to get involved in the drama. He's from a reputable family, and we all know how they hate to get into shit. Sophia lost her rich boyfriend thanks to me, and I still enjoy that fact till this day. I'm happy that I was able to take something from her life. I'm happy that I gave her hope of us getting back together that day, then snatched it all from her. It's almost a replication of what she did to me many years ago. Of course, Sophia did not give up. She filed for joint custody in court, but the case watered down in the first few weeks. She was not stable enough, and she was absent for too long in my daughter's life. I thought she'd not give up, but maybe she ran out of money and decided not to go on with the case. Even though the custody fight ended and Sophia seemed to not show herself to me for months, I was not ready to have her show up again in the future. I wanted my daughter to have a stable life without a mother who appeared and disappeared anytime she had enough money to do so. After months of trying, I was able to get a job transfer out of town. I don't want to mention our new location for personal reasons, but I was able to get far away from our old town. My daughter is back to living with me, and we've spent months making up for the time we spent away from each other. Another important news, I got married to Esther. She's been a great mother to Daniela, and that's all I ever wanted. Our marriage has been great, and we're still learning to understand each other. That's what's been going on in my life, guys. Thanks for all your supportive comments and suggestions. I'm thankful to each and every one of you. Cheers.